welcome to the session. And it was really amazing to back to the in-person session. I really missed that. We run a Power BI user group from 2012 in Microsoft, and for the COVID time, we just have online, and it's really good to back to here. And so about me, I'm Leila Etaati, working at Radaka, data and AI MVP. That means that I'm interested in the data and also in the AI. So I follow always on what is going in DO space here, mainly Power BI and mainly AI that can be cognitive services and Azure ML, and also how they embedded in the different applications. So also I'm run some conferences here. So we have a free event on 22nd of July with 15 speakers. Zoran is here, Indira. We have some of them also from Microsoft, Will, and others. So I will share the link later on if you want. It's a free conference for 1 day, and it should be kind of lots of interesting topics on data and AI. So talking about Azure ML. So Azure ML exists from 2014. That time I'm doing my PhD in designing a recommendation system, and I come up with this product. That time just was a drag and drop environment. Has anyone worked with the Azure ML Studio before? Have anyone see that one? Yeah, Nigel, thank you. Yes, Hamid, and yeah. So that time was just designed to for people who don't have the knowledge to write R or Python and to just drag and drop. So they need to understand what is AI, what is classification, what is regression, but they don't need to write the code. And that was a really fast. I remember I working with a client, and we easily created demo for the customer so they understand what the final product they will have. So this exists for a kind of long time, but now it's become really usable. Now in many companies, I think Jordan definitely provide after me lots of insight on that how companies actually using that. This is not just for business user that use the drag and drop one. So it actually has tools for the business user, for the data engineering, people who work Synapse, people who works Power BI, people who works with the Power Apps. Has anyone heard about Power Apps or Power Automate? So yes, you can actually, behind the scene of all of the Microsoft products, also Azure Machine Learning or Cognitive Services is there. So let's see, and what is that actually? So the actual environment is something like this. If I can play the one, let me. So the actual environment is something like this. So as you can see, it has experience for the notebook. Notebook is like a Jupyter notebook that actually you can write the code over there in Python, in R. So if you are a data scientist or person who works with R, you can actually bring your code over here and write. It has automated ML that I'm going to show you. That's a really kind of using the automated ML approach to create and try the different algorithms, different kind of hyperparameter and the other to check the algorithm. And also it has a designer that actually is a drag and drop environment. So as you can see, it supports actually the notebook one can be suitable for people who knows R and Python, or they want to bring their own code over there into the Azure, get the data from Azure SQL or Cosmos DB and the other, and then consume it and edit the code and then deploy it and use it in other applications. It has automated ML that is really good for business user. Business user, that means that they don't want to write any code, just by click and create a really kind of the trustable algorithm. And of course, the designer, that is not a code, but is really nice environment. Let's see and figure out how it actually works. First, I'm going to automated ML. Automated ML actually is the behind scene of the Power BI. Have you worked with the prediction in Power BI in the Power BI Premium? So we have that one. So that's a behind the scene using that. Also, we have it inside the Power Apps and Power Automate. So let's see that how it works and what is the stand. So it comes from the machine learning process. So we get the data, we clean the data, prepare the data, we train the model, and finally we want to deploy it to the edge or as a pipeline, and we want to consume it in other applications. Imagine that's a start from a simple example. We want to predict that how much a car worth. It's just a predictions. We came up with some features. So we came up with some of the features like the mileage of the car can impact, the condition of the car can impact, car brand, year of make, and the others. So these are the features that from our, for example, we do some testing and our survey, and we find out that these has impact. But actually, we're not sure which one is impact. We call it in a data science for as a feature selection. So we need a feature selection to actually help us to choose the best features over there. Moreover, it's come about the algorithm. Yes, it is regression, but when you talk about regression, there are many algorithms to use. So which one I should choose? That's a challenge always for people who start with machine learning. Which algorithm I should choose? Or what parameter, how I should set the parameter. For example, for decision tree, how many level it should have, or other questions. So what has happened? So for example, at the first iteration, I choose something and I come up with 30%, which is not really good. In a second iteration, I'm going and try different features, different algorithm with different parameters. I come up with another performance. That is, for example, 50%. So to come up, to do the come up all of them, I need to run the algorithm with different algorithm, different features, and different parameters. Imagine that how many iterations I need to go. So this is a place that automated ML actually come and help me. So it's going to have some feature selection approach that actually going to find the best feature. Also, it has give you a selection of the algorithm, try them to see which one better solve your problem. And also trying the hyperparameter that is going to check different parameters through that. So based on that, it's come up with a best algorithm with 95%. So this is a very kind of just showing to what is happening through that. So that's kind of the get the data, find the best model. So here, if I can run this one, yeah. So here I'm showing you that how automated ML actually works. So I'm going there. I'm able to get my data from different resources. So these resources can be from my own computer, can be from data store, that can be Cosmos DB, can be kind of all of the data store, data lake, and the other. So we actually, for example, that's a very famous kind of questions that we Titanic one. So I'm going to get a data set from my local computer, and I upload it over here. And so it's going to kind of check and create a profile from my data. And after that is actually, I'm able to kind of do some data profiling, remove some of the data that I don't need, and include them. Also, it's provide a data profile for me. That's kind of what's the data is about, what the properties has. And then, so just that. So I just get my data into the model. In the next step, I'm able to actually create a model. So the next step is about choosing the model that I want. So it's going to here to create a experiment over here. So I just put a name, Titanic, and just what's the column I'm going to predict. And one of the interesting things about it that is run on the cluster, on the virtual machine. So it can be, if your algorithm is about neural network or other, is also, it has a GUI one. That means that you can run it through that one. So I'm here, I'm select a cluster. So as you can see, it's a virtual machine. I use the standard one, 4-core kind of. So some of the simple one, I use the CPU one for the cluster because it's not a big problem. But if you have it needs lots of computation, you need to use the GPU. So after the selecting one of them, so it can be any, it's going to do that. So it's really important that, for example, if you do the image recognition, it's better that you go with GPU or the other. In this example, I just stay with the CPU one, and for the cluster, I choose that, for example, 2 minimum nodes, so at a parallel time is run it. And so I set up kind of things. So now here is actually the place that I can do classification, regression, or time series. So I don't write any code till here, and I'm not going to write any more. So here, because my problem is about predicting people survive or not, is a category selection. I select the classification. So when I select the classification, there should be some metrics to evaluate my results. So I use, for example, accuracy or something for here. And they are the list of the algorithm that I'm able to choose. So I can set I don't want to run. So all of these algorithms are going to apply on my data. So about classification, there are about 11 algorithms that's going to run. Because it's a demo, so I don't want that all 11 algorithm is going to apply to my data. So I block them. I just leave one of them over there. And then I just put, for example, not go for the 6 hours, just for a couple of, for example, 1 hour, the maximum threshold, and it actually is done. So that's a scenario of how you can actually create the model in automated ML. And this make about 30 minutes to run that. So I'm going to portal and actually show you that after this, what is happened. So let me stop this. Okay, and then I'm going to the portal. So here is actually my Azure ML after I set up it. So I'm going to the Azure Machine Learning Studio over here. And if I zoom it, so you can see under the automated ML. So all of the algorithm that I till now I run is actually listed over here. So let me go through that. So this is the one, for example, I run. So this is the one that actually I show you the demo here. If you look at here, from the all of the algorithm, so it's actually find the best one. So this is the best algorithm that is able to find. So this is the algorithm name that is fine. If I'm going there, you can see the detail of the information that it has and some of the things about the explaining that, how it works, kind of some of the more explanation charts about the evaluation of the algorithm will be shown over here. So just a minute, just come. So yeah, you can see some of the things about the data performance and how it actually works. So you can actually check all of the things about how this algorithm is good. If I go back to the overview of that and show you the actually the models, the whole model. So let me go through that. What's that? Where is the run? Okay, so these are the accuracy that is found for these models, and you can see the experiment detail over here. So you can see all of the experiment, what is happened through that, and how many actually models comes through that. I just want to show you the model, just child job. I think that's a better one. So these are the iteration that is go through them, and you can see all of the models and everything that has been created. So there is one thing that actually after I'm created this model on automated ML, I'm able to create a endpoint out of that. So here, very easy. I'm created the endpoint out of that model. So here, if you look at here, I'm created endpoint. And under the endpoint, it actually give you something to consume in other applications. So if I click on consume, you should see that it's provide a sample code that you can embed inside C#, in the Python, in the R. Also, it give you a REST endpoint and the key. So this is really important because you can embed your model that you created as a web service in other application. One of the things that Reza was talking about Power BI, one of the features that if you work with Power BI, you should see that is actually here. If you go to the Power Query inside the Power BI, you can see that we have the Azure Machine Learning icon over here. Has anyone used that before? So this one is actually going to connect to your Azure Machine Learning that you created. So this one can be created using automated ML, can be used by writing your own Python or R code. So I will show you that how we can do that. So you create a model and you deploy it and create a web service. Then here you can actually consume that model inside your Power BI. So Power BI is a place for showing the report and things. But now you can actually down a machine learning in Jupyter Notebook or automated ML and then consume it here. So as you can see, it's going to fetch my models over here when I click on that. So it's going to come. So it's create a function, as a package, and it will show my model over here. So this is my model that I'm already created in automated ML. I specify the column that I have in Power Query, and it's going to apply on top of them. So here, yep, it's set up. So P class, sex of passenger, and age of people. And if I click on OK on that, it's going to kind of tell me that is people survive or not. So it's going to connect to that one. So the result of the predictions come here. Very easy. So your Power BI user, there is no need to actually write any code. Your data science or people who works in the creating model done anything in Azure ML, and then you can consume it over here. So yes, there is a possibility if I talk about Power BI. So yes, there is a possibility to embedded your R and Python over here, but it's very limited because some of the packages may be not supported over here. So it's possible, but I prefer that approach better. So this is about the part that I'm talking about automated ML. Let's go back to the other part. So just from here. And you see that one. So there is another thing about notebook. So what I'm talking about, you see that I didn't write any code. I just click, and the prediction done. So now I'm going through the other part that is notebook. That is an environment that is good for people who want to write the code. So they can easily write their code. For the Azure ML, we have a SDK that you can easily write it for people who works with Python. Just pipe, install Azure ML. So that's actually bring most of the function that we have in Azure ML from classification, automated ML, and everything. So this is one of the examples that actually shows the code that how we can connect to the workspace from Azure ML and connect through that. You can even connect to the cognitive services. Have anyone worked with cognitive services before or no? So cognitive services is a really nice API from Microsoft that they already built some of the machine learning things like face recognition, like OCR, like form recognizer that actually give you an API and a URL. So you can actually connect to that one. So you can call them through your code over here. So just very fast, I'm not going to run everything, just want to show you the things. So here is an example on a notebook over here. So it's very easy. So you come to the notebook over here. You definitely need a compute to run your code because it's going to consume some virtual machine through that. Here, if I just want to show you very fast. So we're going to create a new file over here. And as you can see, you can create Python notebook, you can create R, text, and the other. Unfortunately, it's not like Synapse or Databricks. SQL is not here, but I hope that soon they also embed that one. So here is actually, this is the one that you can actually create. After you create, you get an environment like Jupyter Notebook over here. It's very easy to write the code. So you can add a code. So here you can add a code place. So you can start your code, or you can add the comments using the Markdown. So I just, as you can see, I install Azure Ml SDK. That is the library to run the code for machine learning. And then after that, if I just go down, you see that actually here, this is my URL from that Titanic example. So that's my URL. That the keyword that I'm get from there, and I provide the data sets for the input for passengers for the Titanic, and easily just call that API and I get the result. So if you see, if I just run the code over here, is actually at the bottom, you can see that is provide with this specification, this person not going to survive. So in the Titanic example was that people who are in passenger class 1, they have higher chance of survive than people who are in the passenger class 3 or economy. So if I change it to 1, yeah, it says to me it survived. So this is an experiment. So it's not just about here is not just about Azure ML part. So you can use other library from Python. So I love these features because people can bring their own code in Python and R and write it here and create web service. So I think that's bring much more flexibility for people from using other things and coming here and start to write their code. And so this is all about this. And then the last one, designer. That was one of my favorite one for a long time. So designer is really interesting one that Microsoft, I think, did a great job to create that. So under the designer, you're able to drag and drop the component through here. So if I just very fast show you. So you will access through some of the components that like a SSIS and the other, you can drag and drop the component over here. So this is my data set. I drag and drop my data set over here. I want to clean the data. For example, I want to set missing value. So I search on the component for the missing value part. So my data set actually will connect to that. And here is a component that helped me to kind of setting up the missing value. So here I can set which one I want to set to missing value and the rest. So let's have a look on the actual, the one that is creating here, just this one. So you will see that actually how is easy, actually drag and drop environment. You can easily, for example, this is for the predictions of the income. And you can see we have a component select for select a specific data from the income, and then we able even to run some Python or R code over here if you look at here. So if I just show the code, so here, so it's a combination of the drag and drop and coding environment. So you don't need to write that much code, but it still is really nice. So this really big place, I mean, that is not just that, it's actually is a taxonomy of the workspace. As you can see, we can this has, if you can define user role, is actually you can, your compute target can be on the Azure Cognos or Azure container. Also, as you can see, you have pipeline. You can finally deploy your team to the web service that I showed to you, to the IoT edge, to the model elementary, and kind of is very big workspace through that. I'm creating a Azure Machine Learning series on YouTube. So as you can see, you can scan me or there's a URL. That's a series that I'm going to talk about Azure ML. So far about 6 episodes I have published, and some of the kind of the blog posts and the other will be added soon. But if you want to know what is Azure ML and how it works, I couldn't teach it in just 20 minutes or 25 minutes. It's very, short time. But here I try to kind of get more people to know that. Also, this is my email and also other informations if you want to kind of checking that.